Hi there, I'm Ciara Whelan and welcome once again to Ireland County by County, exploring the sights and sounds, the places to visit, the culture and the food of this great Emerald Isle. This time we're in a county in the east of the country, just a short journey south of Dublin, our capital. It's green, it's a fantastic place to plan an outdoor adventure and its natural products are known far and wide. No wonder it's known as the Garden of Ireland. In the next 30 minutes, I'll be seeing how the famous Irish shillelagh stick is made. I'll be finding out why this county is a magnet for people who love their food. This county has the most spectacular grand houses you'll see anywhere in Ireland, and 3 of them, Powerscourt, Kilrudry and Russborough, are on our list of places to visit. And I'll be meeting alpacas. Welcome to County Wicklow. With scenic landscapes ranging from magical woodlands to daunting mountains, County Wicklow really is a wonderful place to visit. You can see so much along the country's most popular walking trail, the Wicklow Way, and you'll also find 3 notable glacial valleys in the county. Wicklow has developed its very own really useful tourist passport system, which allows you to plan your journey around the county. Everywhere you go on the trail, you get a stamp, and a full passport makes you a fully fledged ambassador. And where better to begin my ambassadorship than here at the spectacular Loch Tay. Loch Tay is one of the most photographed locations in Wicklow. The stunning side of the lake, surrounded by the mountains, makes it one of the most iconic locations in Ireland and a must-see for visitors. The beach on the northern side contains bright white sand, which was imported by the Guinness family, whose estate Lugalaw runs through part of the Loch Tay area. If you look at it from the right angle, you can see the shape of a pint of Guinness with the white sand on top. The Vikings, a 10-part series for the History Channel, is currently being filmed here. Russborough is a Palladian mansion built from local granite 275 years ago, which now has a protected view, preserving the unspoiled vistas of the Wicklow Mountains and Blessington Lakes. It's also reputed to be the longest house in Ireland. Its interiors, paintings, furnishings and furniture make Russborough one of the finest great houses open to the public in Ireland today. I'm meeting Paula, who's agreed to show me around. Paula, this place is absolutely beautiful. Can you tell me a little bit about Russborough House?
In 1741, Joseph Leeson inherited a vast fortune made by his parents in brewing in Dublin. And he went on 2 grand tours of Italy in order to collect art just to decorate this wonderful house. He wanted to impress all his friends in high society, so he needed a big country house to do it. In the 18th century, this Italianate style was sweeping the countryside. When you're viewing the front, you see the main house, the 2 sweeping Doric colonnades, then there's the west wing, the east wing, screen walls and terminal pavilions. So it really is quite an arresting sight. The front of the house looks out on National Park and also where the Poulaphouca Dam is, so nobody can build on that land and spoil our beautiful vista. It has been called the most beautiful house in Ireland, and it actually has the longest facade of any house.
So it's the longest house in Ireland, but what about inside? What sort of rooms are we looking at?
In the main house, it's actually quite cosy. The main reception rooms, this would be called the piano nobile, so they're the main rooms of parade, designed to impress your guests. There's only a small amount of them, and actually you go around in a circle, so the house actually, you think it's really huge, but it's actually quite small and cozy. Kind of like the Frick in New York, in that it still looks like somebody's residence, somebody's cozy home, but these amazing paintings just crammed on the walls in every room.
What can visitors see when they come to see the house in Parklands?
When they come around the house, they're getting to see a really special art collection. What we have here is a mixture of Milltown paintings loaned from the National Gallery of Ireland and the Bite collection of paintings as well.
And some of the art has an American connection. Can you tell me about those?
We have 2 paintings by John Singer Sargent, an American artist, who later on in his career, he kind of specialised in beautiful paintings of society ladies in beautiful dresses. But we actually have 2 paintings from really early on in his career, when he was studying in Spain, and he's copying the work of Velázquez. So they're quite important in his career because they show part of his development.
Russborough House is open all year round and it's well worth a visit. One of the great things about counties like Wicklow is that because of their great open spaces, they've been able to develop some really great agri-tourism initiatives. This is by far one of the best I've seen anywhere. This is K2 alpacas. Alpacas are delightful, friendly and curious animals, usually found in places like Peru. Trekking with K2 alpacas is simply the most unique activity you're likely to experience. How many lads are there?
How many boys? Well, we have 21 boys in this group, so these are our trek boys. And so they're really good, and they love their treks, so they're wondering when they're going to get out, because we've gotten a trek shortly. They have a really, really good temperament to them, and you can see them all feeding away, no squabbling or anything there. And once we get your hands on them now, you'll see how soft they are, really, really soft.
So what do? You put...
So we have these halters, and they're made specifically for alpacas. We put the halter on, and we put a lead on, and off we go for a walk.
Simple as that.
I know most of them. Sometimes I get mixed up, but I know them by their faces. So when my trek buddies came first, I'd be talking about Alan, Damo, Jackson, Christian. They're kind of looking at me as if I had two heads, So then I had to learn off the tags, and I still don't know the tag numbers because I just recognize them by their faces.
Joe, I can't leave without a passport stamp. Could you oblige, please?
We have to. So first of all, we'll give you our stamp, but also we'll give you our own K2 alpaca stamp, so it proves your lines.
It's an alpaca?
It's an alpaca,
oh,
yes.
Amazing.
Amazing, all right.
Alpaca up on the hill. From the great outdoors to the great indoors, if you're unfortunate enough to find yourself detained there. As one of Ireland's top tourist destinations, Wicklow Jail tells a story of its prisoners through an interactive tour led by some experienced and really passionate actors. Let's go and meet them, and hopefully no ghosts.
Wicklow Jail's been here since 1702. It closed its doors in 1924 as a functioning jail. It was here during the rebellion, during the famine.
And back in those early days, how did people end up in the prison?
People were here for a number of different reasons. Some were legitimate, some were really bad people and deserved to be here. Others not so much. It could have been a child picking berries on somebody's land and got caught and ended up in here. Once they went through those gates, they knew there was a chance they would never come back out through them again, so they named it the Gates of Hell. Also, there was a governor here, and he said the noises, the screams, the smells from the other side of those gates was almost like an entrance into hell itself, and that's also how it got its name.
It's funny because on the outside it actually looks like quite a pretty building. I think that it's the brick that does it, but it's not pretty on the inside.
It's got a lot of sadness, and you can feel that when you're in here. The outside has been touched up a little bit through time, and Wicklow really does its best to keep this looking as authentic and as real as it was.
And what are your favourite stories about the prison?
We have stories of a little girl ghost that likes to go around, and she tags on women's dresses and coats.
What can people expect to see when they come to visit?
We do a daytime tour, which is fantastic. They come in here, they are greeted by the jailer or the matron or maybe a rebel, and they're given a little tour of the jail. They're brought through to certain parts of the jail, told a little bit of the history, and then they're on their own going through. It is very interactive. And then we have a new virtual reality, and that's 4 cells that we have with 5 headsets in. You go into the cell, put the headset on, get thrown back into 1798, and then all the way through to 1923. And then you leave there and do the tour of the jail afterwards. And a lot of people get a kick out of doing that first and then going around the jail and seeing what it was once like. This is the prison yard. And this is where they would get some form of exercise. But as you can see behind me is the tread wheel. And the tread wheel was a form of punishment. It didn't do anything else. It didn't bring up water or grind grain. They were literally put on the tread wheel, works like a modern day tread wheel, rotated 58 times in 1 minute. They were separated from each other, they could not speak to each other, and they could have been on there for 2 hours, sometimes much longer, depending on their punishment. And one of the complaints that we have written down in our archives is that the women were losing weight after doing it. And it's kind of funny when you think today people pay to lose weight in that manner, you know?
I can't leave without a stamp on my passport, please, Colleen.
Of course.
Just up the road from Wicklow Jail, we're stopping at the second of our great Wicklow houses. This is Kilruddery House, which is just a half an hour's drive from the heart of Dublin. We're going to see the estate and learn more about the food and drink specialties which Wicklow has to offer, in a house which has played host to, amongst others, Fred Astaire and Jackie Kennedy. Kilruddery is a breathtaking 800-acre estate with a sustainable, biodiverse farm that includes flowering woodland, formal 17th century gardens and a walled garden. The estate's heritage horse yard is a space to shop, eat, make and celebrate the seasonal bounty of Kilruddery's gardens. I'm here in the orangery of Kilruddery House, where I'm going to learn about the food and drink specialties that County Wicklow has to offer.
Then you come on down, you have Janet's Country Fare, which makes different pizza sauces, but she started off with relishes and pickles. You have Jam Shack here, which makes a lovely pink gin marmalade. Then you come on down, we have a selection, we have 4 cheesemakers in the county. You have a goat cheese maker, you have a sheep cheese maker, and then you have cheddar from a dairy farm, and then you have Wicklow Farmhouse, which is also from a dairy farm.
So nice. You could just leave me here all day, Paul. Head on, and I'll stay here. Wicklow naturally, Mick, it doesn't get more natural than honey, does it?
In August, we take all our bees up the mountains in our pickups. We normally put about 80 hives in the mountains, and we produce this beautiful header honey. So when you bring the bees to the mountains in August, there's nothing up there, only sheep, and they produce a header honey. That's what they call thixotropic. It's a gel-type substance, and it has this most beautiful aroma. It's really, really nice.
There's nothing I love more than a cheese board, and I love the fact that every part of this one is from Wicklow.
Well, that's what it is. It really is the taste of the terroir of Wicklow. It's place on a plate. And the selection of cheeses we have here really represents the kind of farming that we have in Wicklow. So, for example, we have the lovely cheeses from Wicklow Farmhouse Cheese, and they are from a coastal farm in Arklow in South Wicklow. So the pasture is washed with lovely coastal breezes, and it gives a lovely flavour to the grass and then ultimately to the milk and the cheese. Then we have lovely goat's cheese as well from Old MacDonald's farm. So obviously goats reared in a more mountainous terrain, representing that mountainous part of Wicklow. And then we have lovely sheep's cheese from Ballyhubbock farm. The sheep would normally have been reared for meat, but now they're actually reared for dairy. So we have the Ballyhubbock ice cream and the lovely Ballyhubbock cheese.
I know that Kilruddery is a beautiful Wicklow house, and it happens to be your house. Can you tell me about the history?
In 1618, the house was built in its original format on this estate, and it became the main home for the Robertson family. And the house has been rebuilt several times. The current rendition is 1820s to 1850s, and the orangery which we stand in today was built in 1850. The gardens are laid out in a way that is designed for that feeling of symmetry and peace. 17th century design is all about the long view, the angles that you walk through, the perfect sort of layout of a space.
I'm sampling a taste of all things Wicklow thanks to local chef Barry. What are we starting with?
This is our starter. It's called a Wicklow Stampy, which is similar to a boxty, old Irish dish. We've done this one with potatoes, some apples, and it's enhanced with a bit of sea spinach and some sea beet. Good thing about this dish is it's vegan, and you can serve it as a brunch maybe, and you can unveganize it as well with a bit of mayonnaise or, you know, poached eggs on top either. Now, so there you have a nice golden brown colour on the outside.
What's the best way to just dig in?
Dig in, get a bit of sea spinach and a bit of chutney on that as well.
That's delicious.
It's nice to meet a fellow foodie.
Well, you do the cooking, I just do the eating. Amazing. As you can tell by now, Wicklow is really defined by open spaces, great food and drink, natural produce and spectacular scenery. But nothing defines the peace and tranquility of this part of Ireland more than Glendalough. This is one of the most beautiful landscapes anywhere in the country, and the most fitting place to get a picture of the rugged, romantic and green Ireland of your dreams. Glendalough was founded over 1,500 years ago when St. Kevin came in search of a place to meditate and to be at one with nature. He lived alone for almost 7 years, but his simple lifestyle attracted disciples, and over the next couple of centuries, a proper settlement blossomed into the island's premier monastic city.
We're here today in the Upper Lake at Glendalough, and we're at the heart of the Wicklow Mountains National Park. It's a glaciated lake, so it would have been formed here at the end of the last ice age, which would have ended about 10,000 years ago here in Glendalough. But since then, there has been so much other history in the valley itself. St. Kevin would have come here in the latter part of the 6th century. He came to this Upper Lake site, and the original church is actually along the cliffs here behind us. It's not accessible today. It's in a very difficult place to get to. It's called Temple na Skellig, which literally means the church on the rock. When he came here initially, he came for solitude and a life of prayer on his own. But after a few years, he gathered a following and disciples decided to follow him. So they moved to where the main monastic site is today, at the other end of Glendalough.
And what's the main attraction here?
The Glendalough Nature Reserve, the Oak Woodlands here, is a nature reserve in its own right, so many of the trails will bring you through those. There's gentle trails for the family. You can walk around the lower lake quite easily with the kids. If you're more into hill walking, you can head up into the hills. Here behind us, probably one of the most famous walks in County Wicklow is the Spink and Glenealo Valley Trail, which again will bring you into the Glenealo Valley, another habitat, bogland habitat, main habitat within our national park. There's also all the history then in Glendalough, so you can walk down to the monastic site, you can see the Round Tower, you can see the cathedral. More recent history includes the mining heritage here in the valley. So you can also walk down, take the miners' road down to the miners' village, and that's another nice gentle trail. We also have a little information office where visitors and tourists are welcome to call in and say hello. We have maps there to show you the trails here in the valley and lots of information about the national park as well.
The typical Irishman of old was generally seen with cap on head and stick in hand, and the stick to have was the shillelagh. The shillelagh had a variety of uses, from battle club, walking stick, cudgel, message stick, or just a good luck charm. Traditionally made from blackthorn, it requires a process of cutting, seasoning, fashioning and sealing, taking up to 3 years to produce high quality pieces that can last for generations. And the origin of that famous stick is here in the village of Shillelagh in the south of Wicklow. I'm meeting Liam Keeley, who, born and raised here, is the definitive shillelagh stick maker.
The shillelagh has transformed itself over the centuries. It goes back thousands of years. Basically what a shillelagh was originally was a serious weapon. They're made from blackthorn wood, and we know now that blackthorn is the ideal wood for a weapon because of its properties. It actually has the highest ratio of lightness to hardness of any wood you can find anywhere. So they're also used as games. Kids grew up using them to club fish, crack nuts, play games, and that helped them to train to become warriors. So in close contact fighting, they were the weapon of choice. Spears were okay at long distance and mostly for hunting, but in close, they picked up their shillelaghs and sorted it out that way. My own great-great-grandfather, he began making these for the local Lord Fitzwilliam, and they were a crafted walking stick. We make them a lot for a lot of police departments. The police officers carry them because the Irish backgrounds in New York, Chicago, Philadelphia, etc. Muhammad Ali, he was in Ireland in 1974 to fight a guy called Al Blue Lewis in Croke Park, and he was presented with a shillelagh, and he looked at it as he is in the picture there. When I was explaining to him what it was, he says, I like it, but I don't think I'm going to need it.
I'm on my way to a hidden gem high up in the Wicklow Mountains in the village of Red Cross, the American-inspired Wicklow Brewery.
We decided let's bring in a local beer, so we tried to import it, but again, because we're in Red Cross and there wasn't that many craft breweries in Ireland, there was only 2 or 3 at the time, there was none in Wicklow. We decided, hey, we're just going to make our own beer. It's supposed to be a smaller project, but the more we researched it, it was like, hey, this is a good idea, let's make our own beer and give the tourists what they're looking for, so it's lovely to do.
And it's become a real experience, hasn't it?
We're probably unique in that we marry the food with the beer. So you'd be having your fish and chips, but the fish will be battered in our Hellas lager. You'll be having your mussels, which are the Weiss beer. We've got a ginger nut beer, which is really, really good with anything Asian. So all the beers kind of marry up with the food. So it kind of makes us unique in that kind of way.
Couldn't possibly come to the Wicklow Brewery and not taste some of your beer. Will we go and try it?
Definitely, let's go next door and drink some beers. This is the Helles Lager. Okay, so this is the most popular.
Cheers. Oh, very easy to drink.
We're going to book you in for the night.
That is delicious, really good.
This one is a new one, and people were looking for something that was lower in alcohol. So this is a ginger beer.
Okay, I love ginger, so here, cheers.
Cheers.
Let's do this. Oh wow, I actually love ginger. That's delicious. Best of luck with the rest of the beers. You're doing an amazing job
Thank
so
you.
far
Thank
anyway.
you.
Our final stop in the Garden of Ireland is truly breathtaking. Powerscourt is a magnificent 25 square mile estate with a 68 room Palladian mansion. A 400-foot high waterfall is a 3-mile drive from the house.
I grew up here, so the gardens was my playground. My grandparents bought this estate in 1961 off the Wingfield family. So the Wingfield family had been here for 350 years. So a real legacy that they were leaving. So we took up the mantle. So it was a private garden. This was somebody's private estate, and we've turned it in so everybody can appreciate that.
So tell me about the gardens themselves. What can visitors see when they arrive?
First of all, when you come into the estate, we've got the longest beach avenue. So that's Fagus Sylvatica, which is the Latin for beach. Come a mile up a beach avenue, and suddenly out of nowhere is this Palladian-style mansion. When you first walk out into the gardens, you're greeted with this massive vista of the Sugarloaf in the background, so that's the borrowed landscape. And then the landscape in the foreground is this Italian style. So what we're looking at is the Italian garden. The Wingfields here were big into their plants, and the sort of fashion of the time was whatever plant was discovered, whether it be from plant hunters going to the Americas, South Africa, Australia, you wanted to have it, you know, so it was a collection.
Your grandparents must have been real forward thinkers to have bought this place in the first place.
When Powerscourt came up for sale, it was in the Irish Times, and there was a big picture of a waterfall and a picture of the Sugarloaf. And a small little picture of the house, and he thought, I'll do hydroelectric power. So he was a real forward thinker in that sense. So he said, I need a mountain and I need a waterfall. So his plan when he bought the estate was to do hydroelectric experiments.
Powerscourt have also made use of their old mill house on the estate with a fully functioning distillery run by Jerry Ginty. I'm off to chat to him about all things whiskey. Jerry, what's the process of making a whiskey?
We're quite fortunate here that Powerscourt Estate sits on an underground aquifer, which basically it's an underground cave, and it's very pure water. We've had it tested as mineral water. So one of the key ingredients that you need for whiskey, of course, is good quality water. And then you're going to need your barley, and then your distilling equipment, and then of course your maturation warehouse. Powerscourt was the perfect scene for that. We've got very fertile fields here surrounding Powerscourt where we grow our own barley. So we take that barley and we bring it into the distillery. It's a one-stop shop in terms of mashing, fermentation, distillation and maturation. So we've got two great elements. We've got the water, we've got the barley, we've got the beautiful old buildings, and then of course it sits here and sleeps in the old warehouse for the next 10 years before it becomes Powerscourt whiskey.
Jerry, I'm not a whiskey drinker. I have no idea how to even taste whiskey. How do I go about it?
You can see if you just give it a little twirl around that it doesn't have too many legs, and the legs come down the side, and that's how oily the whiskey is. But what's particularly nice about this 14-year-old is that lovely Moorish vanilla caramel taste that you get at the end. And just keep it on your tongue there for a second. You're going to get the vanilla, the citrus, the honey. There's a lovely mouthfeel to it.
The more I travel through Wicklow, the more I'm finding out about its rich and ancient history that has shaped the culture here down through the ages, giving rise to the vibrant way of life with its great food, good-natured locals, incredible stately houses and wonderful scenery, and just a stone's throw from Dublin. Well, Jerry, this is a brilliant place to end my tour of Wicklow. I have my passport. Do you have a stamp for me?
Your passport, of course. Yep, let me have a look at that there now.
You don't need to inspect it, like.
I believe congratulations are in order, Ciara, as you're officially been awarded a Wicklow Ambassador Certificate.
Amazing, look at that. And I even have a whiskey to celebrate. Sláinte, Jerry.
Sláinte.
Ireland County by County is brought to you in part by Wicklow, the Garden of Ireland, Wicklow Endless Opportunities, Bord Bia, the Irish Food Board, Ireland's Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, and the National Parks of Ireland.
CIE Tours, sharing the magic of Ireland for nearly 90 years.